that. So we're going to have to put a little disclaimer in here for legal purposes. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are purely those of the person speaking. And we are not to be held responsible for any of that, really. I mean,
views and opinions, they're just ours. Exactly that.
Yeah,
Views and
yeah,
opinions
just
of
ours.
our own. And quite frankly, don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. It is what it is.
Fair. Although we
Put it in
do
a nice
use, we use aliases, and we're not going to be talking shit about people's actual names or companies' actual names, but we do have a good episode lined up for you guys because we've been off air for a couple of weeks.
We have indeed.
Yeah, and I think we're going to start off by mentioning our winner for the jug. That guy was pretty lucky. That was cool.
Yeah, he was super lucky because there was a lady who had actually won the prize. However, so part of the obviously competition rules, terms and conditions was you had to follow our page, obviously, but then you had to either follow Aussie Power, either their Facebook page or their Instagram page to actually go into the draw and then tag 3 people on our post.
Let me just interject there. If you haven't gone in to follow Aussie Pal, do it now. Although,
yes.
Not right now. Do it when you fucking get to work, not while you're driving.
Yes, which chances are people are probably listening to this on the way to work.
I know.
Now, unfortunately, I did get in contact with her, but unfortunately I had to tell her, look, you haven't won because you haven't followed all the rules. It turns out that she had followed a scammer's duplicate copy of Aussie Pal, apparently. Now, I was in contact, obviously, with the owner of Aussie Power to make sure that all the people that were entered had followed. So when she did win, I got in contact with him, asked him to double check that this lady had followed, and unfortunately she had only followed once I had prompted her, which was after the fact. So she got disqualified and we had to redraw.
It's unfortunate, but those are the rules, I guess.
Yeah, she understood. It won't be the last time we run a draw like that, but luckily when we did do the redraw, there was a bloke who had followed and had done for some time. His name is James. Now, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name.
Hold on. You did tag me in this post, so I'm going to just double check.
Yes, and he decided, even though it was for a black hydro jug Aussie Power, the 6 litre, it looks like they allowed him to change the colour, and he's gone with a green one. We have asked him to post on the Facebook page as well to say that he had received it, to show people this was a legitimate competition, which quite a few people were actually kicked out of the competition because they were just there to troll, as they thought it was a scam competition. And then, just the comments they were making throughout, they ended up getting removed. So
it's James Sakona, by the way.
That's Sakona, there you go.
Name, yeah.
Sakona with a G. Okay.
Yeah,
well, he's our winner.
You drop the G. It's like Cologne. You don't say the G in Cologne either.
That's it. I did get in contact with James. He was quite stoked. He wasn't aware that he didn't even think he was going to win it, but it turns out this isn't the first competition he's won. He's also won a competition at work where he won $1,000 as well. So he's not only won that, he's then obviously won the hydro jug. Yeah, I reckon. So, that's our very first competition, and thank you to Aussie Power who did jump on board. We did manage to get quite a few people to tag and follow not only our page but also the page of Aussie Power. So apparently there's quite a few even referrals, even though they didn't do the competition. They went across to Aussie Power and followed them anyway, even though they didn't join our competition, which free competition, why wouldn't you join? In the coming months, we are going to get another one of these jugs, and we're going to raffle it off. I think we'll raffle this one off because it is quite expensive to get it. It is about $200 to $240 to get the 6 litre, but then it's the shipping cost as well. It is quite expensive to ship it. because of the weight, apparently. So,
and then this is going to be a raffle that benefits our Facebook page and our podcast. The money is going to go to that. Try and make things a bit better for our members, and try and make things a bit, make the podcast run a bit better as well.
Well, that's it. It'd be nice to be able to raffle something off every day like LMCT Plus, and give away $1 million to members a month or $1,000 a day. But we're just not rich. We're not in that realm of things.
Yeah, we could get there. I mean,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
We could always put up the occasional $100 raffle or something. Put in your $1, and we'll send.
Maybe we can do a Christmas end of year Christmas raffle or something like that. $100, $200 or something. Yeah, we'll just save all the donations that come in, put it aside, and then at the end of the year, do one big raffle for somebody to. Go splurging at Kmart or Big W or Target for Christmas toys or whatever. Or even Coles, Woolworths, something like
that. Or if you're feeling really fancy, make it Myer.
Yeah, Myer. There you go. Myer's an expensive place.
Jay. What's the Woolies equivalent? Is it David Jones, the Woolies equivalent of Myer?
I would say so. I think David Jones and Myer were pretty much in competition at one stage with each other.
By Coles. And I think it's David Jones is owned by Woolies or something.
Well, the Myer we had down here in Mandurah at the Mandurah Forum is now getting closed down, and we're getting a time zone. Which,
one of those is a lot more exciting than the other.
Yeah, it's quite big. It's going to be very big because the space that they had was huge, so it's going to be very massive. So I'm pretty excited to see what it turns into in terms of what they put in there. But it'll be the equivalent of Fremantle, I would say, on size-wise.
You know what's really cool is I think lately arcades have pulled themselves out of the slump that they sort of fell into in the early 2000s to late 2000s. Sorry, I should just say the 2000s. Because there was a time when everyone was like, well, I can play video games at home. Why would I go out and spend money?
Yeah, it's almost like the reversal now. Everyone's starting to get back into it, wants to do the arcade games. And obviously the vinyls made a big hit back for a couple of months there, and they became very, very expensive to get a hold of again. So there's a big surge.
I got
there.
Well, my ex's dad, not my ex's dad, sorry, my wife's dad left her a whole lot of vinyl records. I absolutely love my vinyls. And like they include like fucking Fleetwood Mac and Def Leppard and all that.
There's rare ones out there. When I first got a hold of the 2-3 suitcases full that I have, I literally, me and the wife sat down for the whole night, went through them all, categorized them in terms of duplicates, and then we went online. Once we had sorted them all out, we went online to see which ones were actually worth a fair bit of money. And it turns out I've got a little bit of money there in vinyls. So I'm just holding on to them at the moment just to see if they increase in value over time, and just see where it sort of goes in that sense.
Oh, there's no way on God's green earth I'm splitting with mine.
Yeah, no.
I love them.
I'm just going to hold on to it until it's just not worth holding on to. But I think it's just one of those generations. By the time I hit 50, it's going to be worth a shitload of money. I think they'll come back. And people will be like, hey, where are these vinyls? So see what happens. Who knows?
Yeah, I think by the time you have to subscribe to each and every single song if you want to listen to on YouTube music.
That's it. YouTube can only go so far.
You'll be like, yep, physical media is the way to go again, bitches.
That's it.
Here it is. See this thing? This is what we need to listen to.
Vinyl records, that's it. We'll see what happens. You never know. These things could be worth money. Yeah, that's it. And you can see the new vinyl record players that have come out as well. Like they've sort of made them more modern. So if you try to find yourself an old vinyl record player, they're very hard to get a hold of. But you can actually buy a new modern one that'll play all the records anyway. So that's pretty cool that they've actually brought that in as well. So Yeah. But anyway, getting on to our topic of the day.
Yeah, it seems you and I have accidentally stumbled across a topic that both of us want to talk about.
Yeah, so taking your machines, working with your machines at work and actually looking after them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever been in a situation where you have to share that vehicle or your truck, your machine, with a night shifter or throughout the day, constantly swapping between the two trucks.
Yep.
You would think the person that you're swapping with would take as much care of that machine as what you have, in terms of keeping it clean on the inside and the outside, as well as using it. It's like if you use someone's car, you don't return it back to them dirty with shit all in it, rubbish in it. You make sure you take your rubbish out, you clean it, and return it the same way you got it.
Well, good people do that anyway.
Well, yeah, that's it. And good operators will look after their machines, and they'll keep them nice and clean on the inside.
It's like when you rent someone's trailer and you send it back to them damaged, like some sort of half-brained idiot.
That's it, and I believe that happened with you.
I believe it did, and that's what sparked this conversation.
That's it. Now, I have been away for the last couple of weeks. I've only just gotten back, and I was on a water car, 8-wheeler, and, when I received it, it was, dirty and grubby, and so I spent some time, at least 3 to 4 days, cleaning it as I was working. And I got it to a point that where the inside it wasn't completely dust-free, but, it was very minimal. There wasn't all the windows, the dash, the inside, the controls, all that was dust-free. Yeah. Now, that machine eventually did break down, but however, my night shifter had it for one night before that happened. And it was as if he went and got 2 dust bombs and threw it in there, and it just... Yeah, it was a complete joke. It turns out that apparently this guy can't even see. He's apparently pretty blind. And I say that because when my 8-wheeler broke down, it was sent off to Newman and replaced with a 6-wheeler, brand new, very low kilometres. We're talking, I think it was like 30 to 60,000 kilometres, if that. And this thing was spick-span, wasn't a bit of dust on it. Outside immaculate, inside immaculate, every control, the air conditioner, you couldn't even spot a speck of dust. There was even some plastic wrapping that was still on some of the items because it just hadn't been used. So, and I mean, even the seats, the roof, everything was spicky-span, no dust, no marks.
Gotta love that new truck smell.
I never got a chance to drive it because when I received it, it was about 5 o'clock and I knock off at 5. So, it got parked up, and obviously night shift came in. He had it for a space of his shift from 6 o'clock. He gave it back to me at 6 for whatever reason. He didn't park up early. When I received it, not only did it look like it had been through hell, the whole of the inside, as if he had, and I worked this out before I'd asked him, he had both windows down and the whole inside had looked like he'd thrown just bomb after bomb after bomb on the inside with dust.
Now, keep in mind, dear listener, Swagman works in the outback. You don't drive around there with your windows open.
No, especially on the area that I was. So I was Area C South Flank, which is the most dustiest area you can work in. Like all the windows you keep up at all times. You never put your window down, and during the night it's even worse because there's less people on site, so they ramp up the machines, and they full blast. So by morning it's like dust clouds coming in, and when I say morning, it's still nighttime. So coming in on the bus, you can't even see your hand in front of your face, type of thing. Obviously, I received the truck back, and that truck had looked like it'd been on that site for about 2 to 3 years. Just the inside was completely filled with dust. Now, it turns out that this guy had his windows down the whole night, and his excuse was, I couldn't see. On every vehicle, you have this little symbol that looks like a window. It's called a demister. If you push that, it demists the window, and you can adjust the speed that you want that demister to work at. Now, apparently, he just couldn't see out of a brand new window, brand new truck that didn't even have bugs over it. It was as if, the it had come off the glass itself, off the repair glass machine straight onto the truck. That's how clean it was. He completely damaged that truck in the space of 12 hours. I found out later from the rest of the crew, apparently he says that about every machine, regardless whether it's new or old, that he can't see out of it. So he puts the windows down. And when he's in the Bobcat, I can't see out the Bobcat windows. Brand new Bobcat. Can't see out the loader windows. Can't see out of any window that apparently he works with. So
has this guy ever heard of this new technology we have called fucking glasses?
Yeah, he wears them. I just don't think he's been tested in a very long time in terms of medical grounds, in terms of his vision.
And also in terms of IQ, apparently, if he can't figure out what a fucking demister does.
Well, yeah, there's that. And my concern, more or less, and I didn't raise it because it wasn't my position to say anything. I was there as a direct contractor for the client.
Yeah.
The company that hired me, I wasn't even under their command. Usually I'm under one of their supervisors, but I was working direct for the client. So it was just one-on-one. The same with the night shifter. It was just one-on-one. However, the company that I worked for is the one that obviously hired this truck to do for the contract. So obviously I did say something to management about it, and they said, oh, yeah, we're fully aware. He can't see out of windows. He's blind as a bat. And I'm sitting there thinking, how is this guy still fucking working on a site? You can't see out of windows, and he's damaged the truck. He's done thousands of dollars worth of fucking damage in dust that the company is going to have to pay for a full detail clean because funny now, the reason I say that truck also broke down. The brake booster stuffed up on it, so it got tagged out. They fixed it, and then it got tagged out for the same reason again, so it got sent off site. And I would say there was a good $1,000 bill that went along with that, a cleaning bill, because of how bad it was. So, and I take care of my machines. I sit there and I clean them inside and out. And luckily I didn't have to do it with this new one, but the 8-wheeler I did. And I got every bit of rock that was built up under the guards out. Spent a good hour actually cleaning. Used my lunch break to clean the truck. And then one night he just comes and destroys it. So at that point, I just lost all faith in my night shifter. It actually got to a point where I was using another water cart that wasn't even doing the job that it's meant to, which is to spray water. You turn the sprays on, and you may as well have just gone outside and turned your hose tap on, because that's as much as what I was getting out of the back end of that truck, as you know. And apparently, I just had to deal with what I had in terms of tools. And you know how you take pride in your work, and you get to a point where you're banging your head against a brick wall with management saying the tools you have given me are not adequate to do the job that you're asking me to do. And it just makes me look like an idiot, and it makes you look like an idiot, because when you have it in first gear on a water cart and you've got it on high rev, that back end should be pissing water out with your center spray on. And it may as well have been a garden hose. And obviously I'd reported this, and they're like, no, it's fine, it's fine. Well, it turns out a couple of days after I left site, that machine also broke down. So my point wasn't invalid, but it got to a point where I told the boss, I'm just not going to put my name to this job anymore. I said, I've gone through now 3 machines. The only one that worked was the 8-wheeler, until obviously it didn't work. But it was at a point where I take too much pride in the quality that I deliver, where I had actually just told the boss, look, if you can't get me a machine that's going to do the job that you're asking me to do, that's going to be quality and not make us look like idiots and make me look like an idiot, then put me on the next plane home. And that's exactly what he did.
He'd rather get rid of the problem that is Swagman complaining than fix the problem that is.
Yeah. And I've worked with machines that are, subpar, but they do the job. You're like, look, it's not really suited for the job, but it will do, So you go along with it, you use the tools that you've got, it's doing the job. But when the tools you were given, subpar, and then not delivering the quality as well, it just creates a bigger problem. You just end up going over the same area that you had just done because it's not getting enough water. It's not penetrating the ground enough.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter how slow you went, because the slower I went, the revs were also, for some reason, dropping out, and you couldn't adjust the revs to go higher in first gear. It's already revving out as high as you can go. And it was just as if, put the sprinkler on where it should be in your face spitting out. It was
should be blasting out water.
It just wasn't penetrating at all. The dribble bar would make it too wet, so then it would make the road worse than actually then do the job that it needs to be done. So
which is mostly dust control, isn't it?
Which is dust control, which is what you're there to do. And in South Flank, you want to be able to get that dust down as much as possible because it's so bad. It's the most dustiest mine site that there is that I know of. But yeah, I just had a machine that, one, wasn't doing the job, and then not only was it not doing the quality of the job, that machine ended up breaking anyway. I'm not sure what broke on it, but they ended up tagging that one out as well.
It makes you wonder, right, if this guy was he must have been that dense that he did not realize that his actual job is fucking dust control. That's why he's there, because it is dusty. And that's
the thing with management. They're not on site.
Driving through dust is putting the windows down.
Oh, there's that. And the worst thing is management's not even on site. You've got supervisors from my company that were on site, and they're like, yeah, look, it's not the best, and it's
chin scratches.
It's like it's not ideal is the word they used. It's not ideal for the job that needs to be done, but it'll do the job. Now, the problem is they weren't out there looking at the machine and using the machine that I was dealing with. Now, I'll deal with any water cut. I drive JCBs. But yeah, unfortunately, this, for whatever reason, this just wasn't spitting out water regardless how slow you went. It just wasn't penetrating the ground enough to wet it. So, yeah, in the end, it got tagged out anyway. But what do you do? Like, when management doesn't listen to you, like, where do you draw the line between your pride and the work that you're delivering and just ignoring everything and just going, fuck it, just take the money? Like, I would rather deliver quality and be, have self-satisfaction that I've done a good day's work and have pride in the work that I'm doing than to have a machine that's not doing the job, that's meant to supposedly deliver quality, but it's not. I would rather turn around and leave the job. And that's what I did. I told the client, walked in there and said, look, the machine's not doing what it's meant to be doing. It's delivering ideal work. It's not even delivering the quality work, and that's why it's so dusty.
Yeah.
And it was a big client. We're talking one of the big three, so, that was my direct supervisor. And I told him, I said, look, I've told my company, but they've told me to deal with it. And in the end, I just couldn't deal with it. And I just said to the boss, I was meant to be out there 2 weeks. I was out there 9 days. I just said, look, if you can't give me a machine that's going to do the job that you're asking me to do, then put me on a plane. I would rather go home, because I look like an idiot, you look like an idiot.
My grandpa used to live by the credo, if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right the first time.
That's it.
I mean, and 100%. You do it right the first time and you won't have to go back and do it again.
That's it.
Sure, in your case, you're driving a water cut, you're going to have to go back and do it again because there's going to be dust. But the thing is, these people, they seem to have this, good enough is good enough attitude. We have a truck on site and we're getting paid for it, and that's all we care about, kind of thing.
Pretty much, yeah. And that was kind of the attitude that it was. It was like, use the machine until it breaks. That's the attitude that you get, and that's not just my side or the company that I use. It's every company out there, just use it until it breaks. And that I'm talking mine site lingo here. And most people will agree. If you're on a mine site and you say, hey, this isn't working properly, they'll go, oh, has it got 4 wheels? Is the engine still running? As long as the aircon's working and your comms are working, just keep using it till it breaks. But then the problem is when it breaks, it's something that big that it puts the truck out of service for could be a week, could be a couple of days, which means you're not getting paid at all because sometimes there is no backup truck. So that person that you've employed to do the job sometimes is sitting there for days on end doing nothing. Now, I was given another truck to use, but then that truck just wasn't doing the job twice. So, you know, what do you do when you get to a point? Where do you draw the line? Like before you just go, fuck it, this job it's too stressful because the machine and the tools you're given just keep breaking or they're not working. Like, where do you draw the line?
You're supposed to draw the line at the very start and go, hey, this is fucked. Okay, cool. We're going to go pay money and fix it, get it fixed. I used to work for a company that had I was on a big project down here in Sydney, and we had this pod truck. It was a C-class pod truck.
Yeah.
But it was still, the clutch on it was fried. It was fucked, right? So you'd struggle to get it into first.
Yeah.
Then you'd be limping it along in first. Then you'd have to really put some elbow grease in to get it into second.
See, if that was happening on the mine site, they'd tag it out and say it's not usable. But if you're in the main city, that's almost like the attitude of, just keep going.
Yeah. Well, it's good enough. I mean, it moves, doesn't it? That whole
yeah.
So we complained and we complained and we complained. Like, it took us weeks of complaining to the boss before he finally sent someone out to fix it. Okay, guess who he sent out to fix it?
Oh, probably not even a serviceman. It was probably someone that might have a go-kart mechanical background.
Nope. He sent his mate out to fix it. This guy wasn't even... He was barely even a mechanic, let alone a transmission specialist or anything like that. So it's like normally with trucks, you wouldn't be sending a mechanic to fix a transmission problem.
No,
you'd be sending
heavy diesel mechanic or a truck specialist mechanic that understands trucks.
This guy essentially came to site with the mechanical equivalent of a paperclip and a piece of cardboard to fix this thing. Okay.
Yeah, no. See, the thing we got on our site was the guy on our site, he was brilliant. Now, he wasn't they sent him out as a serviceman, but his background was go-karts. However, he was mechanically minded. He was so good on the trucks that he understood how they worked, how every part worked. He could diagnose the problem. He understood the issues. So you get people that enjoy their job enough to want to keep learning and not, go, I only know about go-karts, so I just want to focus on that. This guy was actually so mechanically minded. And he didn't even have a qualification in mechanical. As I said, his background was working on go-karts, and they sent him up as the service person to work on heavy diesel trucks, loaders, excavators to diagnose problems when they break down. He was brilliant. Younger than me, he was like 1920s. So you do get good ones, but then you get people that just are not mechanically background minded, and they go, oh yeah, I can fix the problem. And they do more damage than actually fix the problem.
Yeah.
Which sounds like is what happened with your situation.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of times, and I mean a couple of times, because it was at least weekly this asshole was out fixing this thing now.
Yeah.
There were a couple of times when I would be walking past and see, they've got the cab over tilted forward, he's got the gearbox dropped down and everything like that, and I'd be like, that clutch plate is ruined.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, what the fuck do you know, bro? You're just a traffic controller. Yeah, I'm just a traffic controller who used to work for Toyota. I've seen plenty of this stuff. Just fuck off, all right? Get out of here. And it'd be the next week, I'd walk past again, and he's got the thing open again, and I'm like, that's the same clutch plate.
Yeah. it gets to a point where you don't care anymore. You've got to laugh, because if you don't laugh, you just cry and like.
But the thing is, I was driving this damn truck.
You're the operator. You know about this machine, and that's the problem is when you complain about something to management or to the boss or to whoever that's in charge of that site, saying, "Hey, there's something wrong with this." You kind of almost fobbed off, "Oh, just use it," type thing. You don't know what you're talking about. It's like, well, I do, because I'm the one that uses it every day. So I know every sound and every bit that was working in it when I first had it compared to what is happening now.
Yeah, that's right. And then you're like, well, how about I just use it today, and okay, get this, I'm going to take this thing down onto the M4, right, where everyone else is doing 110 k's an hour, and I can't get this cunt out of second gear. We're going to see how well that goes for everyone, okay?
Yeah. And I can guarantee that the tow truck will be bringing that thing home. You don't
I'll be getting the TMA to push me from behind.
Well, that's it. The companies are so worried about money and budget for certain contracts. They've only got so much that they can spend on that contract. And there's a certain guideline that they've got to stay between. Otherwise, it's costing the company money, and you never want it to cost. You want to make money. Every business wants to make money. So in this sense of that, you don't want to stuff up by one, when you first get the contract, lowballing it to a point where you're not going to get new machines out there, or the machines you're sending ain't working properly. You want to make sure you've got enough money in that contract and that budget line for that job, that if something does go wrong, or if you can buy a new machine, that it can be fixed or replaced, or hey, we can get a brand new water cart, or we can get a brand new pod truck for this contract because we've got the money in the budget for it. So there's sometimes people, when they get these contracts, they don't think of that. They go, oh yeah, well, no, we've got the machines for that, but they may end up spending more money on the repairs than what they would have if they had just hired a brand new truck, or they had bought their own for that contract. So sometimes you give them the warning, you tell them, hey, we're going to need this, or this is happening, and then you just watch them suffer in the end.
Yeah.
So because you've told them about what's going to happen, but they don't listen. So when it comes back and they try to blame you, go, well, I warned you about this earlier, so not my problem now.
Give me a sec, I'll be back.
No worries. Time for a top up with the drinks, I think. Give us a sec, guys. Let's have a look here. So if you guys have any stories as well, feel free to send them in on our Facebook page, or send us an email. All our details are on the Shonky Traffic Controllers Facebook page. You can also obviously join our live chat area and type any questions you have, or put your story in there. And we'll bring you guys on board as well. Like if you want to tell your story that you've had, we'll bring you guys on as well. Let's have a look here. I've just shot across to our Shonky Traffic Controllers. It looks like we got a new participant, but they haven't added the response. So you don't know what Leah Reid, do you?
I don't know Leah Reid, but how many times do we have to say it? Swagman, answer all the damn questions. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not getting accepted.
I think people just go, oh, yeah, let's see if we can ignore it, and thinking that it'll just get through. But the thing is, I actually do look at them.
So do I. There are two of us looking at it. Look, the thing is, I think I know what a lot of people are doing. Like, our posts are getting popular enough now that they are popping up.
We're 3.9 thousand members in.
Yeah. We're popping up on people's news feeds, right? So they're trying to comment, but you can't comment on our stuff unless you remember. So what these people are doing is they'll post a comment, right, and then just hit back a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And in doing that, they are not realizing that the questionnaire for joining the page has popped up. So they're smashing the back button, and they get rid of that.
Yeah,
and comes through.
The reason why we put that there as well is because we don't want trolls on the page. So if you can't even take the time to answer 3 or 4 questions, then we don't even want you on the page anyway, because you're either going to troll or you're just going to you're an AI bot or a scammer. So we're not going to even bother entertaining anyone that can't even answer 3 questions. They're not hard questions, yes or no questions.
It also allows us to root out whether a person is worth
being on that page.
Genuine. Right. Because I've noticed that a few of the quote unquote people that request membership have been traffic control companies themselves. Like they'll join from the company page, or they'll be higher ups from traffic control companies.
From traffic control.
I see you're the CEO at fucking Ryan's Traffic Control. Go away.
Go away. You're not coming on. Look, we don't want to deny people, but if you're just coming on the page because you're worried if your company's been put on the page or your employees are saying something about the company and whatnot, then fix your own management within in-house. If you have to come to social media to spy on your employees or see if your company's being posted for doing shonky shit, then if you're already on that wavelength, then you should be fixing in-house, not being on social media going, who's done this? Because complaining about it and then sacking the person that's complaining is, one, it's not going to remove the post, but 2, it's not going to remove the problem, because then the next person you hire is going to notice the same thing and probably post the same thing, and the next person and the next person, and it's just going to be an ongoing effect. So fix your shit in-house before you come to social media to have a whinge that people are complaining about your company online. Because, at the end of the day, we're not going to remove a post if it's been posted legitimately.
This is what our page exists for.
That's the whole point. Shonky Builders has been designed for shonky builders, and everyone uses it. Now, if you go build a house, how many of those builders turn around and go, no, don't believe everything you see on Shonky Builders, that's full of shit page? You know why they say that? Because they know damn well that there's so many complaints about their company on there that they're trying to degrade it and say, they're just unhappy clients. Well, one unhappy client, sure. But when you've got multiple complaints from multiple people, that's a lot of unhappy clients.
Unhappy clients, plural.
Okay? Then it's not so shonky shit when there's multiple people saying the same thing about the building industry. And that's why Ryan finally pushed me enough to do this Shonky Traffic Controllers Facebook page, and I thought, you know what, there is a Shonky Builders, why not make one for traffic control? There's not really one out there. There used to be have a whinge page, but then that got a bit out of hand. So this is more specific for traffic control, but sometimes we do use it to advertise sponsors and all that helped us through the shows.
I mean, ours isn't really for pointing fingers. It's more of a learning thing, I think.
It's a learning thing, and to help people understand how to do better as well, not just look at this shonky shit, because when a company does see it, they're more inclined to want to improve than complain.
I mean,
but
I've driven through a few job sites now where I have actually pulled over and taken a photo, right? And one of the TCs or somebody has noticed me doing this, and they'll come up to me, or they'll start like looking like they want to talk to me, so I'll go over to them.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "Why are you taking photos on my site, bro?" And I'm like, "Well, because this right here could have been done better. Okay, your tape. Look at your taper. Your taper's fucked up. You need to lengthen the taper a bit because it's, I can.
There's some sites I've seen like you're describing now, and you just sit there and go, dude, if there was a drunk driver or anything, you're all fucked because of the way you've set up the site.
Well, there was one that somebody posted today, right, which was, I don't know if it was meant to be a road closure or something like that, but this guy, there was just, the photo was 2 traffic cones and then 1 chevron.
Yeah. So
chevron in the middle of
the new legislation that's come through in terms of that now, and it's a compliance thing now as well. That before this job even gets allocated, so you've got planners that would go out to site and actually see the site and then plan it. But we all know they've been using Google to do that. So then obviously you get to site and you're like, what the fuck? It doesn't match the plan to what I'm looking at. Like, they have not been out here. The new legislation that's just passed and the compliance laws that have just passed is they now need to go out to site. They need to provide video evidence that they were on site on the date that they've done the mapping for that for your contract and for your job. So they need to be able to have video evidence, photos to back it up, and it needs to clearly show date and time on those photos. Now, if you don't have that and you get called out by WorkSafe or even in other states, this whole thing is statewide because now all the legislation has come under the same banner. So this is regardless whether you're in Sydney or Perth. If you don't have this and WorkSafe comes into your workplace and says, show me the records that you've done this, and you can't produce it, or you say, well, here's some of it but not the other half of it, you are going to get fined and you're going to get work orders, and potentially your doors can be shut because they've seen it as a safety risk now. There's been enough complaints about it that they've had to implement to make planners go to site to make sure that they're actually visualizing what they're actually sending their employees out to do, because as we both know, Google has been the use of what they've been doing in Google Earth.
Yeah, like a lot of them will tell you to put signs in places that it's just impossible because there's a tree there or something like that.
Or now it's a residential housing house and it's not actually a vacant street anymore because the maps are outdated.
The post I was talking about before, I'll hold it up and hopefully this clip makes it onto TikTok. You see that?
That's the one I'm actually looking at.
What a cracker of a photo that is. That is exactly what our page exists for. It's not even a taper. It's just one cone and then an arrow and then another cone holding the arrow sign.
I would like to see if there was any more signs or if that was just we're out of signs, so we've done this. So if WorkSafe was to drive past that and see that, well,
even
number one,
if there were approach signs, there's no way that is acceptable for a road closure.
That site would probably get shut down, I would say, depending on how bad the rest of it was, because there's no way that's it can't be compliant.
Myself, I'll look at a plan for the day after, look at it the night before, and go, rightio, okay, so I don't have that sign and this one. I need to go to the yard early in the morning
to make sure
those signs up. Now, the problem with that is that a lot of TC companies don't pay you from the yard; they pay you from.
And a lot of them don't have enough signs for the job as well, which is disturbing that they don't have enough signs for that one job. That tells me you're taking too many jobs on. To be able to have enough signs to fulfill a contract that can make your site safe. Because companies nowadays, they would rather run the risk of an employee getting hurt than to provide the minimum standard of safety, which I have noticed. And when people complain about the safety issues or complain that there's not enough signage or whatever it is, they either get the sack or they get told to shut up and just deal with it. But then when something goes wrong, you get thrown under the bus. So what I always tell people, I just say, cover your own ass, make a note of it, send an email to that said person and say, we had this conversation about X, Y, Z on this date, and blah, blah, blah. And that covers your ass if anything was to happen after that. So then you go do the job. And if something goes wrong, you're not at fault because you've already voiced your concerns at the start. And WorkSafe's not going to come up to you and say, you caused this, you're the problem.
And do not be afraid to get WorkSafe involved. If your company wants to tell you, right, if they want to tell you, well, you're only paid from 7 o'clock or something like that, they use that to discourage people from going to the yard to actually pick up extra signs or what have you, and they're like, no, that's the crew leader's problem. It's not the crew leader's problem. It is the company's problem. They have to supply the correct signage, right? And then they will tell you, oh no, well, you're only rostered on to start at 7 o'clock. Well, technically, you should be rostered on to start at whatever time you leave the yard. So if you go to the yard in the morning, right, to pick up signs, you're getting paid from, say, 5 a.m. Say your job starts at 7. If you're here in Sydney, it'll probably take you some time to get to the job site. You can get to the yard at 5, pick up a couple of extra signs, and then just put it on your timesheet. And then if they want to bring it up and say, listen, you're not paid from 5 o'clock. Well, rightfully, you should be. That is your right as a worker. You should be getting paid for the hours that you work.
See, my argument I would turn around and say, so would you like me to go to the client and say we don't have enough signs for this job because I wasn't going to get paid early to come to the yard to pick up the signs that I needed for the job? So who's going to tell the client that? Should I tell the client that, or are you going to tell the client that? Because I'm not going to come to the yard early if I'm rostered on for 7 o'clock, and yet you're telling me, make sure I've got everything that I need to go direct to site, but you're not going to pay me for it. At that point, I turn around and say, if you're not paying for it, then I'm not doing it. And I'm going to turn up at 7 o'clock. I'm going to come to the yard, be at the yard by 7 o'clock, pick up my signs at 7 o'clock. And then I'm going to go to site. And when the client says, hey, you were meant to be here an hour ago, say, sorry, mate, I don't start till 7, so it's going to take me a couple of hours to set up your site because the boss didn't want to pay me the extra to be here early to make sure you guys could start on time. You're due to start at 7, then start at 7. Be at the yard at 7. Make sure your ute is getting loaded up for 7 o'clock. Usually there should be a yard person there. That a good yard person they start a bit earlier, will have your ute ready. But sometimes TC's crew leaders take their utes home and they have to go to the yard to pick up signs. Now, if they're saying be on site at 6, but you're not getting paid till 7, then I'm going straight to the yard, I'm picking up those signs, and I'm leaving the yard at 7 and then going to site.
I will say this much, though. The company that I work for at the moment is really good with that kind of thing, because...
See, there is good ones.
Yeah, there are good ones, right? Because it's mainly a civil company, but they'll send me the TGS and they'll send me the scope of works the day before. So most of the time I'll still be on site. Okay. And I'll have a look at the TGS for the next day and I'll be like, right, I need XYZ signs. Okay, I will amend my trip home and head up to the yard. And then they allow you to clock out after you leave the yard, because it's all company time according to them. But most traffic control companies don't think like that. They think that you clock off when your job ends.
And that's also a problem, like making sure you're getting paid for the hours you're doing out on site. When you're doing the mine site, they say, oh, you can only do 12 hours, and it's so heavily regulated. However, they're not some companies are better at this than others. Now, luckily for the job that I was just on, it was pretty good. We'd literally be to the 12 hours and that's it. So if I started at 4:45, I was to finish at 4:30, get my paperwork in, obviously let the truck do its countdown to be able to get all the, because we got AdBlue in our trucks, so we got to give it time to isolate and all that before we can switch it off. So, I'll stop 10, 15 minutes early and I'll finish at 5 o'clock because that's when the other crew finish. So I'll get there 4:30, 4:45, let the truck idle down, isolate it, go in, have my meeting with the supervisors, all that sort of thing, and that would be my clock off. But then I'd have to wait an hour for the bus to get in to be able to go home.
Wow, bless you, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. So I would get my 12 hours directly, but I'd still be up at 3:30 in the morning to go into crib at 4 o'clock. And I'm not getting paid for this, by the way. For that period of time, you're not getting paid for.
I know it. I know it.
and that's where it gets tricky because it's different to FIFO life and local. Local work, you can say, hey, if I'm not getting paid for it, then I'm not doing it. But when you're out there, you're already out there, and it's kind of known that you're going to have to be up early. You want to eat? Well, this is the time you've got to be up if you want to eat, because you've got to be on the bus by a certain time. But ours was door to door, 12 hours.
Yeah.
If you were an hour past that, you would be getting a phone call from security saying, hey, why have you gone over your 12 hours? What's going on? Hey, you've got 5 minutes to get through the gate and tag off, otherwise you're going to breach. And when you breach, you've got to go into the superintendent's office and explain to them why you've breached. And there's a big form that you've got to fill out, and then they've got to sign off on it, and then they're going to start questioning what was the reasoning. So there is other companies that don't give a shit about the 12 hours door to door. Those are the companies that I avoid because you don't want to be working 14, 15-hour shifts and making it a 14-hour door to door. Those are companies that you know that you're just a number. So, and it also, you weigh up your options. Is it worth the mental stress of working the extra hours unpaid and going through all that drama? I don't think it is. Some people are on a good wicket and they're like, yeah, I'll work 14 hours because I'm on, $90+ an hour, or I'm on $80+ an hour.
Yeah.
But you can't put a price on mental health. Now, if you're working locally and you're still doing 14, 15 hours, but you're only getting paid for, say, 10 or 12 hours, then I would not be working the 14, 15 hours for the sake of that job, because that tells me two things. One, your manager doesn't give a shit about you, and two, the company certainly sees you as a number.
Yep.
So it is one of those decisions that you've got to make. Yes, I need the money, but I'm sick of doing 14, 15-hour shifts. So why put yourself through that and your family through that? There's plenty of jobs out there, and if you know that you've got the skills and that you've got you can prove that you can do the job with another company better, then I would be leaving that said company and saying, hey, VOC me on that machine, or VOC me and I'll show you that I'm, that I can do the job, and work for another company that actually values your time and values your mental health to want to work for that company instead of the one you're already working with. Yeah,
no, exactly.
So I can't go through working with a company that treats their employees like crap, because when you're at work, you're working with these guys and girls for what? Sometimes 8 to 10 hours a day. They're essentially become your family.
Yeah, it's the people and the machines you got to spend your whole day with.
And that's it. So a good company will abide by that, and say, hey, look, we can see that you guys are not, working a small amount of hours, but we're going to pay you for it. And if they identify that, that's great. But if they don't, then don't do past what your job title is. If it says that you are 8 to 8 or 9 to 9 or you're 6 to 6, then do that. And then if the company says, but what about overtime? Why are you not doing the extra 4 or 5 hours? You get paid overtime just because I'm past the 12 hours.
I mean, you don't always want overtime, do you?
Yeah, I don't want to work overtime. I still got to, an hour travel or a 45-minute travel home or a 2-hour travel home. So it's a fatigue problem for me. So I'm not going to work past 10 hours because I've still got to calculate my travel home. So,
well, in your case, you've also got to cop it from the mine site after you've got
that's
12 hours.
And when you're on a mine site, you've got to cop it from them as well, because you've got to explain to them why you've done it. No, it's not. Yeah. But there is companies that will try and get around it. They are out there. It's the same thing in the safety field. There's companies out there that'll preach safety and they say, speak up about safety. But then when you do, you just end up either sacked or you never see Billy again, because Billy's now being sacked from that job because he spoke up about a safety concern. So traffic industry is getting better. Traffic control industry is slowly picking up its standards, but there's still a few companies out there that are, lacking.
A lot of corners of our industry that are not getting better by the sounds of it.
Yeah, 100%.
And 100%. One of the back to taking care of the machine, really. I get asked quite often why I spend so much time cleaning my ute, right? Because I'm, as I mentioned before, I'm a crew leader, right? I make sure any ute or truck that I'm in, I make it clean. I make everything organized. Like the signs are all in order. I like to tie them all back too. I've got little tie down things that I use so that every time if I'm out driving, right, the signs don't bang around on the back. I cannot fucking stand the sound
banging against
of
the
the
metal.
signs bashing around against the cage. So I have
Yeah.
these little straps that I buy from Bunnings for like $2 each.
Taking care of your actual, ute that you're using,
and it's not
and
just
the
that.
equipment.
It's my neighbours as well. I mean, I'm in the ute at 4 in the morning. The neighbours don't need to hear all that shit crashing around on the back of the ute. So, I get asked often why I do that kind of thing. And it's like, well, unfortunately, this is my daily driver. This is my car. The one that actually belongs to me that stays in the carport, that's not my car.
You never get to drive that car.
That's the family's car. Okay.
Yeah.
The one that belongs to the company that I'm driving every day for upwards of 5 or 6 hours, that's my car. That's what I have to spend the entire fucking day sitting in. Okay. So I want it to be clean and I want all the signs to be in order and everything to be in order.
You know where your shit is then. You just want to know.
And it goes back to the question of signage as well, right? I can look at a TGS and I know exactly what signs I have on the back of that ute because I spend all day making sure that they're in order and counting them.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you know whether you have to go to the yard or not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know what's there. And like for some reason it just blows so many people's minds. Like the last bloke who drove my ute didn't give a flying fuck about it. It was dirty when I got it, right?
Yeah.
I got in there immediately. I cleaned it all out and everything. And previously, before he got fired, he was like, "Oh, I don't understand why you're so pedantic about the ute being clean. It's not your car." And again, I explained it to him. I was like, "Yeah, it is. I am the one
you use it.
I
Yes.
have to spend half a day sitting in this goddamn machine, right? It may as well be comfortable for me."
Yeah, you don't want to be sitting in a dirty ute because imagine if you just left your rubbish in there and you just let it build up and build up and build up. Like, how comfortable is it going to get? At what point do you get to? Do you go, "Oh, I should probably clean it"? Why not just clean it every day and you never have to do it?
It's not the company's problem. The company's never going to clean it.
No, they're going to say you're the operator, you're the crew leader. We've given you this ute to take home. Take care of it as if it was your own car.
That's it.
It's common sense. But yeah, guys, if you guys have got any stories of similar situations where you have banged your heads against the brick wall, send them in to us. Reach out and we can bring you on the show. We've had a few people on the show tell us their experiences.
If you've worked in traffic control or at least as a FIFO, there have been plenty of instances where you've banged your head against a brick wall.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And go and pay Aussie Pal a visit. They're on Facebook. They've probably got their own website as well. But those jugs look really cool. I'd love to buy one.
Aussie Power definitely has a website. Just jump on aussiepower.com.au and you will be able to find a different range of jugs from 2 litres, 4 litres, 6 litres. They're really good. As I said, I've got one. We've just given one away. But yeah, the aussiepower.com.au. Jump on there and grab yourself a new water jug. Keeps cold for, I believe it was 48 hours, it says on the jug.
I understand. Swagman has taken one out into the middle of the outback.
I have.
Still had it ice cold the next day.
100%, and it was 100% ice cold. I followed the instructions, half ice, half water, and it was still icy cold the following day. So top it up with ice and then go again.
Have you seen their adverts on Facebook?
You know, because I follow them. It's constant.
Yeah, it is. But you know those silicon like donut shaped ice cube makers that they have. Do you have them?
No, I don't. So on site, obviously, we had an ice machine. But if you're working locally, I highly suggest getting one of those because that would be perfect. And you just put 2 of those in your bottle and bang, the rest in water, and that'll stay cold for 48 hours.
So on the adverts, they have these really cool donut-shaped silicon molds that you can make ice in, and they're what would the radius be? I think the radius of them would be about 3 or 4 inches. They're quite big. Yeah.
Yeah, quite big.
And you'd freeze up
36 hours. Sorry, I lied. 36 hours. 36 hours cold.
I mean, that's an estimate, and I'm pretty sure if you are economic with it, you could make it last longer than that.
Oh, 100%. It's how smart are you with it, more or less. But yeah, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. I need to go check on the wife. So, yes, we are having a newborn baby soon.
She did sneeze before, so there could be
some
trouble
sneeze,
going on.
Could be some trouble going on. She's just failing to yell at me. So I will leave you with that, guys.
She might be quietly dealing with it back there until you finish there, Swagman. So
pretty much. I'm going to shoot off, guys. You're going to hear a little thing from our sponsors at the end of this. So stick around, have a listen to that, guys, and we will see you guys next week.
See you next week. Bye.